So for anybody that hasn't followed the property market, it was red hot during COVID. So lots of sales. People, came out of the lockdown period and property prices went in a tear. Interest rates were extremely low, had been, and people were just buying property prices going higher and higher and higher and higher. So this one's an over leverage fail. So this is a young professional in Manchester borrowed 80% loan to value on 3 properties before the 2022 interest rate hike. So loan to value means how much loan you will get as a percentage to the value of the house. So if it's £100,000 and your LTV, your loan to value is 80%, that means you would get £80,000 of that £100,000 on a mortgage, or a buy-to-let mortgage. So remember, the interest rates were really low, and then in 2022, interest rates went up. So it says here the payments had jumped up £500 a month. So the cost of borrowing that had went from a really low interest rate to a much higher interest rate, and that in real terms has meant £500 a month increase. It's forced the sale of one of the houses. So he's bought 3 and he's had to sell one, and he's ended up losing 20k in capital gains tax. So he said that he's lost 20 grand and he's rebounded by restructuring the rest of the portfolio. So it says here, don't ignore cash reserves. Always have something in reserve, and stress test at a higher interest rate. So this is the lessons that this dude's learned. It sounds like he's got out of it without a total collapse. He's managed to salvage the day. But what he's explaining is he's went too big too soon. He's done what most people do when they get involved in property, is they look at the last year and then project that's going to go on forever. And what happens is when you look at the property market overall, you realise that it's not as clear cut as that. It does have fluctuations. Interest rates can play a part in it. And in my video series, I go over all this. So I explain the impact of mortgages, lending, interest rates, how to know what's coming up. For long-time followers of my podcast, they'll remember that I predicted that this was going to happen. So 6 months before this happened, I said to people, this is what's going to happen. And everybody was like, no chance. And you imagine the backdrop of it. Property keeps going up. Everything's great. Sky's the limit. And then 6 months later, the interest rates had went up. And now everybody's like, what do we do? And there's still people that can't sell their property for what they paid in it before this interest rate increase, because the natural flow of it is if interest rates are higher, it reduces how much people can borrow, and if it reduces how much people can borrow, that reduces how much they can pay. So the artificially low interest rate period created an environment where people could pay higher prices because they get more lending, and then when you reduce that down, that reduces the availability of what people can borrow. And that's how I knew. That's how I figured it out. There was no mystic meg or crystal ball. I just have seen it often enough. But I bet if I told this young dude back then, he'd have said, no bother, I'm going to crack on anyway. But he's learned his lesson. He's came out with great tips, and fair play to him, he's figured it out. So he'll be better, wiser, sharper and stronger for this mistake.